In this episode of Hidden Chronicles, we continue our deep dive into the femininity of the heavens and the earth. We are tracing the profound history of women and language, uncovering the roots of a massive systemic revolution against femininity, a transformation that reshaped humanity over a millennium. Let us explore the next chapter of this untold history.
Research in Femininity of the Heavens and the Earth identifies a specific timeline, the persistence of ancient matriarchal societies up until roughly 1400 years ago. This period marked the height of a 1,000-year struggle as a new patriarchal system gradually began to take root and redefine social reality. This cultural shift reached a definitive turning point with the rise of Judaism, providing the most prominent evidence of the patriarchal system's dominance. To understand how this history influenced religious law, we will analyze the Quranic verses on polygamy by looking directly at the Arabic text itself. We will separate the direct linguistic reading of these verses from the historical interpretations provided by the Sultan jurists, the official commentators of the early Arab empires. This investigation raises a critical question. Is our modern understanding of marital plurality truly rooted in the language of the text, or is it an artifact of this historical patriarchal shift? This map illustrates the massive scale of the Umayyad and Abbasid empires, a territory that stretched from the borders of India all the way to Spain. This era saw an unprecedented surge in writing, translation, and authorship across every field of science and law. It was also a time of vast architectural and cultural wealth, providing a lifestyle of luxury for the ruling elite who governed these lands. During this period, jurists and commentators were tasked with providing interpretations of the Quran that aligned with the requirements of this wealthy ruling class. If you look at modern translations of the Quran today, you will often see words inside parentheses, explanatory notes added by these specific imperial scholars. It is a vital distinction to make. Those bracketed additions do not exist in the original Arabic source text. This history creates a gap between the original source and the version we read today, setting the stage for an analysis of whether these imperial traditions align with the actual rules of Arabic grammar. To bridge that gap, we have to look at a foundational mechanic of the Arabic language, the conditional instrument. As this diagram shows, this linguistic tool requires two inseparable halves to function, a condition clause and a result clause. The condition is often introduced by the particle in, meaning if, while the result is marked by the prefix fa, meaning then. For example, if you fear failure, then study. In Arabic, the phrase is in khifta fa dhakir. In Arabic, you cannot use the fa result clause on its own. Without the preceding condition, the sentence has no grammatical meaning. To give a direct command to study, use the root verb dhakir without the fa prefix. That stands alone as a universal command. It is like a mother telling her son, "So tidy your bed." Without a prior spoken condition, the word so leaves the command incomplete. The second half of a conditional sentence is strictly and permanently tethered to the first. This establishes our premise. Any Quranic command beginning with the prefix fa is not a universal rule, but a specific response to a narrow condition. We can apply this rule to the text itself, beginning with the verse that immediately precedes the mention of polygamy on these pages. This preceding verse issues a clear directive. Men must not consume or unfairly exchange the wealth that belongs to orphans. The focus is the protection of the family fortune left behind for children and a wife after the father's death. The Arabic term used for these children is al-yatama, a gender-neutral collective encompassing all fatherless children, regardless of sex. The text notably avoids al-yatimat, the specific feminine plural, ensuring the protection applies equally to all. This establishes that the contextual foundation of the entire passage is the protection of all fatherless children from financial exploitation. We now reach the debated verse. And if you fear that you may not maintain justice with orphans, then marry women. We immediately find the conditional tool. The word in, meaning if, directly targets the men who claim they want to care for these orphans. The command to marry, ninku, is prefixed with the conditional result particle fa, ninku. Because this command begins with the conditional prefix, it is grammatically impossible for it to be an independent or universal permission to marry multiple women. The command to marry is strictly and legally dependent upon the fear of neglecting the orphans mentioned in the first half of the sentence. The text is directing these men to marry a specific person, the mother of those orphan children. This marriage is the structural mechanism that allows the orphans to be brought safely under the man's direct care and household. The justice required here is not between multiple wives, but the demand for equality between the adopted orphans and the man's biological children. If a man cannot maintain this equality among all the children, the text commands him to remain with only one wife to avoid taking on more dependents than he can support. The structural syntax of the Arabic language dismantles the idea of universal polygamy, revealing it instead as a strictly limited mechanism for orphan welfare. The actual socio-historical purpose of this verse was to provide security and income for young orphans in societies disrupted by war or accidents. It also provided a legal structure for a man to assist a grieving widow, providing a formal household connection that prevented the risks associated with a stranger in the home. At no point does the linguistic structure of the Qur'an permit polygamy as a means to satisfy the sexual desires of men. Furthermore, this logic precludes marrying a virgin as a second or third wife. As she has no orphaned children, the essential condition of the verse cannot be met. From beginning to end, the text is focused exclusively on the care and justice owed to fatherless children. The Quranic condition for marital plurality is defined as an act of charitable burden-taking rather than an expansion of male privilege. We must look back at the height of the Umayyad and Abbasid eras to understand why this meaning was obscured. The sultans, ministers, and wealthy elite of these empires sought religious justification for their existing practices of frequent marriage and divorce. The commentators who provided these justifications were exclusively men, operating within the cultural norms of their time. These empires were built on a socio-economic foundation of expansion, spoils of war, and the accumulation of captives. When these male jurists read the text, they actively looked past the linguistic constraints of the fa prefix. Influenced by a culture of immense wealth, they interpreted polygamy as a natural right, viewing the text through a lens of elite narcissism. The result was an adaptation of Arabic syntax that manufactured a religious authorization for an opulent imperial lifestyle. The historical record suggests a pattern. Rather than allowing the strict syntax of the text to limit their behavior, the imperial elite adapted the text to authorize their reality.